Imagine you are the president on your first day in office, and urgent information reaches you, Mr. President. Nuclear missiles will strike our country in 14 minutes. An experienced guide steps forward, ready to assist. I'll guide you through this, but you're the sole authority to approve our nuclear retaliation in response, and time is essential, with just a few minutes to decide. As you deal with this dreadful situation, tensions that have been rapidly escalating in the past few days come into focus. Today's joint Allied aerial defense exercise began just minutes before the missile launch, possibly contributing to a simple misunderstanding. The prevailing assumption is that the abrupt attack aims to neutralize as many of your country's nuclear forces as possible. However, the urgency becomes clear: missiles are now in the air, and intercepting all of them seems impossible. The intricacies of intercontinental ballistic missiles are explained, emphasizing their launch into space before re-entering the atmosphere with multiple warheads, surpassing the speed and altitude of any countermeasure. At this critical moment, the imperative need to relocate to the bunker is stressed. Here's the information at hand. Just 4 minutes ago, the recently deployed infrared monitoring satellites identified 112 bursts consistent with intercontinental ballistic missile (ICBM) launches originating from the adversary's inner territories. Intriguingly, only 20 of their 80 underground nuclear silos appear to have been activated. There's speculation that most of them might be transporter-erector launchers, essentially trucks carrying significant missiles. The reason behind the selective use of silos remains unclear, raising questions about their functionality after more than 3 decades or whether they are being held in reserve. The fog of war adds to the uncertainty. According to Aerospace Command, the ICBMs are seemingly targeting our nuclear command centers, silos, as well as major Air Force and Navy bases. The intent appears to be to conclude the conflict swiftly, leaving us little room to respond effectively. The enemy's strategic doctrine places emphasis on military targets and our nuclear weapon systems. However, their secondary objectives extend to our industry and infrastructure, specifically oil refineries, power stations, and deep water ports, all strategically located near or within major population centers. The accurate count of victims will only be known in weeks. Immediate deaths resulting from the explosion and burns may reach a few million today. Considering it's the morning rush hour, there's limited recourse for those stuck in traffic. Evacuation is a challenge for residents in major metropolitan areas, but emergency broadcasts advocate sheltering in place, away from windows. The potential radiation exposure for intact population centers hinges significantly on the weather in the upcoming week. The grim projection suggests we might witness tens of millions of deaths by the end of the month. In the next few minutes, there is still an opportunity to respond, but the crucial decision rests on your shoulders. After all, you are the president. In our arsenal, we possess 1,500 warheads scattered across silos, bombers, and submarines. Swift action is required for the 400 warheads housed in silos to be launched before they become vulnerable. Additionally, 46 nuclear-capable bombers on high alert can be airborne within 2 minutes, provided the order is transmitted promptly to move them out of the blast radius. Of the 14 nuclear submarines, 5 are currently at sea, offering a covert and undetectable backup for a potential nuclear retaliation should we lose our silos and bombers. Contemplating the use of submarines to target the remaining silo fields before enemy launches is a viable strategy, with the likelihood of preventing further exchanges after our retaliation. Recent updates include radar confirmation that the enemy ICBMs have completed their burn and deployed their warheads. Initial estimates suggest each missile will release at least 6 re-entry vehicles, totaling around 600. These vehicles carry the warhead back into the atmosphere during its terminal descent onto the target. To further complicate matters, there are numerous decoys, inflatable balloons designed to distract and waste any anti-missile systems. The tracking system is now monitoring almost 4,000 potential targets. Anti-ballistic missiles have been launched and are set to intercept in a minute. Despite these efforts, the harsh reality remains: there is minimal defense to protect the capital. Wait, confirming a partial radar blackout, their systems are glitching out. The adversary must have anticipated the launch of interceptors and pre-detonated a few warheads at high altitude. This ionizes the atmosphere, creating intense radar interference. The interceptors should still function, given their 55% success rate in tests, but never with this many decoys or with radar interference this intense. It might shoot down 50 objects, but there's no guarantee they're warheads. It seems like most bombs are going to get through. This is their last shot at a counterattack. They're running out of time. The silo launch sequence takes 5 minutes. They have to transmit and confirm a launch order, and the missile needs time to clear the blast radius of the incoming bomb. This is a massive decision, but the war plan is set. You just need to enter the launch authorization codes and push this button to transmit them. There's nothing else you can do to save more of your people. If you hesitate now, this war will be over before it even begins, realizing this is your singular chance. The stakes are high. Enemy civilian casualties are hard to estimate but likely similar to ours, a few million right away, perhaps a few tens of million by the end of the month. The total fallout from their attacks and theirs might trigger a nuclear winter, potentially killing billions globally, and that might happen even if you refrain from retaliation. Questions may linger, but orders must be given without expecting answers right now. With an attack of this magnitude, there's no guarantee communications or assets will remain intact in a few minutes. They're on the clock, a decision is imperative. Can they launch? Nuclear wars defy conventional timelines. They only last minutes, and in times of crisis, even minor delays can lead to uncontrollable situations. Anything from slight communication lags to sensor errors, to uncertainty and the fog of war, underscores that no leader will ever have a complete grasp of what's happening as a crisis unfolds. Put yourself in those shoes, what would you do? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. When tensions reach a boiling point, accidents or misunderstandings can drive leaders, even those with good intentions, to trigger a nuclear attack. In the midst of confusion and with incomplete information, a lone individual, yes, truly just one person, holds the power to make decisions that could bring about the end of civilization, causing the deaths of hundreds of millions in the time it takes to watch a YouTube video. Although this narrative is a work of fiction, the world teetered on the brink of such scenarios multiple times. In 1995, Russian radar mistakenly identified a submarine-launched missile, prompting their nuclear forces to go on high alert. However, it turned out to be a scientific rocket intended for Aurora studies. Similarly, in 1979, US computers reported a full-scale Soviet attack with mere minutes to respond, a false alarm triggered by a training tape erroneously loaded into a computer. The year 1983 saw the Soviet satellite alert system indicating 5 ICBMs launched from the US, yet this too was a false alarm caused by sunlight reflecting on clouds. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, a Soviet submarine, out of contact with Moscow for several days, concluded that nuclear war had commenced and contemplated launching a nuclear torpedo. Fortunately, the decision required authorization from 3 officers, and one of them, Vasily Arkhipov, opposed it. But what if he hadn't? Even the most meticulously designed safeguards can fail. Currently, decisions are underway to develop new weapons and missile systems, further entrenching the world in another century of nuclear stalemate, complicated by China's ascent as a new nuclear superpower. Simply resigning to the inevitability of nuclear weapons may imply an inevitable use. However, the world doesn't have to follow this path. Taking incremental steps, disassembling one bomb at a time, could eventually lead to a world without them. During the Cold War, The world possessed over 70,000 nuclear weapons, but through arms reduction treaties, that number has dwindled to about 12,500. While progress is uncertain, it is not impossible. Governments and militaries are integral parts of nations, just like the individuals they govern. People hold the power to demand accountability from their leaders, often starting with raising awareness about pertinent issues. If you want to know how to survive a nuclear attack, we have another video here on the channel just about that. What to do and how to survive a nuclear attack. Check it out now. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know which part of the world you're speaking from. Subscribe and hit the like button. Until the next video,